You're listening to the Masonic Light Podcast. Starring Pete Ruggieri, Larry Maris, and Jason Lewis. This podcast is not endorsed by any Grand Lodge, and the ridiculous ramblings of the hosts are their own. So sit back and enjoy some Masonic conversation without pretension. And now, here's your hosts, Pete, Larry, and Jason.
And Jack.
Hey, that's me.
And welcome, everybody. It's episode 55.
55.
Sammy Hagar's least favorite episode.
None of us can drive it anyway.
I'm Pete, here with Jason, Larry, and Jack. He's back from his... was it sciatica? No, it was...
Oh, yeah. Brian Hill says it was a trip to Greece, an island called Sciatica. But, yeah, no. It was more like a prison in New York State.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah, any of you suffering from sciatica, you have my sincere condolences because it sucks.
I have a really good Greece joke, but it's definitely not appropriate.
No.
So, today's episode, we're going to just kind of... we don't really have a guest, but we have a lot to talk about.
We need to communicate.
And yeah, today's message is going to be about communication in Freemasonry and how it needs to improve. Or what works and what doesn't.
What tools can we use in the modern day?
But before we start there, let's start with Jack, because he was going last week. Jack, what have you done Masonically in the past couple weeks? 4 weeks.
Ermagerd. I haven't even thought about it. Well, we had past Masters night for the first Masonic district on Saturday, and we got, as the name would imply, past Masters from the first Masonic district.
I didn't know about that.
You didn't?
I was not invited.
You are a past master and should have been communicated to. So maybe that will come up as a part of the communication.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Something's coming up anyway. But we had a terrific meal. I don't even remember the name of the barbecue place. Someplace in Mountjoy, Harry's or someplace.
Harvey's. Yep.
Harvey's, yes. Mm-hmm. Was astounding. The food was absolutely...
They're good with everything.
Incredible.
I don't know if you had their chicken, but their chicken is award-winning.
Chicken was good. The ribs was just like an hors d'oeuvre. You could take the meat right off the bone. It was great. The ladies who served it were awesome. So it was good. And then after dinner, the district deputy sort of called a gathering, and it was sort of like Festivus, the airing of grievances around the Festivus poll. So we just talked about where are we, what are we doing, what do we need to do different. There were 4 principal streams of the conversation, and at one point, I don't know if you know Patch, the past master.
Absolutely, yes.
Patch says, you know what we said here tonight? Same damn thing we've said every time I've ever gotten together with more than 3 Masons.
That was beautiful. So eloquent.
Yeah. I mean,
spot on.
And yeah. And it is. And we talk about the same things. And I hold that they were probably talking about these things in 1780 as well. Membership retention and guarding the West Gate and mentoring and blah, blah, blah and all that stuff. So I don't think our problems are anything new. I think this population crash after the big post-war bubble is affecting us like why we didn't see it coming. I don't know. But anyway, there were some good thoughts, good conversations about mentoring, and why do we? How about we have everybody's mentoring sessions open to everybody else? So if Ephrata's mentoring Tuesday nights and your guys are on Wednesday nights, but your candidate can't make it Wednesday night, send them to Ephrata. We're fine with that. That's great. Fish them out and meet some new people and. So there may be something that comes from that. I think that's a really good idea is just being able to expose the candidates to more people, more lodges, more buildings, more fellowship. That's all good, and different ways that the different lodges go about it. So that was one of the good spots that came out. Prior to that, we had on Thursday night our third annual table chapter for Chapter 43 of Royal Archmasons in Lancaster. So we had a very formal dinner with we had 28 people in attendance, 26 of whom we knew about, and 2 more that we didn't. So we had to.
That's pretty good, except for that room only holds 26.
we had to squish people together a little bit at the just before. I thought it went very well. We had with us not Right Worshipful, Most Excellent Grand High Priest George Morrow, who is the Grand High Priest of the Holy Royal Arch Chapter of Pennsylvania. And George was absolutely wonderful, just very down-to-earth guy, easy to talk with, lots of great stories. I think he had a very good time, and it was, all in all, a very nice evening.
Is he maybe interested in being on the show sometime?
Yes, he said that he was. We just have to organize that.
How long did it take you to ask him? And was it like 15 minutes into the conversation? I'm asking because there's something we're going to talk about with Larry later.
It was a private conversation between he and I. We were both at the head end of the table.
Oh, so you didn't put him on the spot in front of 1,000 people?
No, I was standing on the table when I asked him, but beyond that, no. It was kind of a private thing. And then Sunday we had Grotto, and a couple of you guys were at the Grotto meeting, and we'll probably more in that one here in a few minutes as well.
All right, Jason, anything?
Nothing.
Whoa.
Liar. Lying liar.
You work for the.
He can't talk about his work. It's like HIPAA. HIPAA.
Oh, okay.
HIPAA, not HIPAA.
I work, and I guess the stated meeting and extra meeting were before or after the last show. I don't even remember. But anybody that's friends with me on Facebook knows that I've been dealing with a BS ruptured eardrum that no doctor believed me, and I was correct. So I got a ruptured eardrum.
What'd you win?
Nothing. Some expensive drugs and about 50% of the hearing that I should. I'll tell you all the things that I didn't go to. I was supposed to go to Philly with our now companion, Jim Stevens, and watch him get his Royal Arch degree. Canceled. Was supposed to go to Kite and Key Lodge with Larry and Brian Hill. Canceled. Was supposed to go to Table Chapter, and I gave my ticket to Ken Hudson, who thoroughly enjoyed it.
Larry, tell us about your misadventures.
I've been busy. Actually.
Oh, yeah. Lodge of Research. Didn't go. Sorry.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't know you were going to go, though. But anyway, a couple of weeks ago, I went to Lodge 43, the first time I've ever visited Lodge 43 in Lancaster.
What?
I was invited to a chicken pot pie dinner, and I went.
That explains it.
But with the proviso that I put a coat and tie on and attend their stated meeting, which I did. And actually, I was very impressed. It was a good meeting, enjoyable. We had a great speaker. Chris Gibson.
Chris Gibson.
Did the
I know that guy.
Ceremonial thing with whatever.
The empty. He did the Tall Cedars empty chair program that he converted with Grand Lodge's permission to a Blue Lodge.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It was really, really excellent. It was beautiful.
I believe he will be coming in to do that same ceremony at Ephrata.
It's really nice.
Our memorial service. Yeah.
And Goose and Gridiron that following Thursday. Saturday, the Tall Cedars picnic. And Lady Stephanie was there, and we had good turnout. There were like 3 or 4 appendant body meetings going on and dinners, so our turnout wasn't as large as it normally is, but we had a good substantial turnout, and we had a great time. We really did. Wednesday, June 20th, Kite and Key in Allentown for their meeting at the Masonic Center in Allentown, and the festive board afterwards. And I am going to tell you, I was so impressed.
Did you wear a kilt?
No, I didn't wear a kilt, but I wore a black suit, white shirt, bow tie,
Damn near kilt him.
white gloves. I was dressed for the occasion. But the festive board was wonderful. I think we had 7 toasts. Of course, we ate at Rodizio Brazil Steakhouse, and it was a meat frenzy. I've never eaten.
Did you get the meat sweats?
Oh God, yes, I did. I had to stop. I couldn't do it anymore.
It's like sharks in the movies where the sharks are having a feeding frenzy.
And the room's quiet, and everybody's eyes closed because it's a self-preservation method. They close their eyes when they bite, so the prey doesn't hit their eyes.
I will say one of the things about Kite and Key, and the
Shark Week.
combination of their festive board, which was something that I experienced when I was in England. It was really. I've been traveling in Freemasonry for 44 years, and I never felt so good about going to a meeting and enjoying the festive board and the fellowship that I experienced that night. And it was really, really something kind of special. So I appreciate.
Are you going to cry?
No, I'm not going to cry.
It's
My
okay,
voice
Larry.
is giving out. Where is the bourbon? Did I say bourbon?
No, you cannot.
Saturday, June the 23rd, the Pennsylvania Lodge of Research met in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, with the Right Worshipful Grand Master S. Eugene Harrop. Gosh,
S. Eugene Harrop.
yes, Eugene. I hope he's not listening to this one. But anyway, the Right Worshipful Grand Master was in attendance. And that's pretty much it.
And you asked him about being on the show, right?
Well, yeah, sort of. Yeah, I did. We had about 150 brothers at that meeting. 36 of them were officers of the Grand Lodge, all dressed in their purple and their tails and everything like that. So I guess I kind of started by saying that...
We had 300,000 fans.
No. Actually, I talked a little bit about Seth Anthony and modern communications and the fact that the Grand Lodge is streaming the Academy and how great I think it was, and our presence on the social networks, Facebook, et cetera, and how important it is to communicate to members.
And 20 minutes later, they gave you the hook.
No, they didn't give me the hook. But that led right into Masonic Light podcast. So basically what I did with 150 brothers from throughout the state was sold our podcast. I mentioned that.
I haven't seen a check.
What'd you get for it? Yeah.
I haven't seen a check.
I'm in for at least a quarter.
I mentioned that we have a fine listening audience. And
I haven't gotten my Eugene prize yet.
anyway, and one of the things we talked about was I have a little bit of a thing that, and I said to the Grand Master that there seems to be a reluctance with Grand Lodge officers to want to appear on a podcast, specifically.
So and you didn't just like when we have a guest, you couldn't just say, "Would you like to be on our show?"
Now wait a minute,
Gene,
So
baby.
the Grand Master said, "Are you asking me to be on your show?" I said, "Yes."
All right, let's move along now. That's what he said next.
Okay.
Right?
That's how long it took to get to the question,
Yeah,
too.
it took about 10 minutes. Yeah, it was.
Could you imagine
meanwhile,
Larry asking somebody off the prom?
Larry, people were texting me during your speech. They're like, "OMG, are you here? What is Larry doing? I'm not here. What's going on?"
no one did that.
Ron Carson had a bruise on his forehead from like smacking himself.
Tim
in the
Deadman sent
forehead.
me like 30 emails.
Did he really? Absolutely. Oh, God bless him. I knew Tim
was
was
one.
there, and I thought, oh, Lord.
You know, I texted somebody who was at that meeting and I said, "Did he embarrass us?" No response.
Come on. Well, anyway, the Grand Master did not make a commitment on the floor.
Smart.
So he said, will you see me at lunch and we'll talk further?
And bring your dues card.
And I did go in the lunchroom.
And when you were approaching, did he like touch his eyebrow and his assistants came and shoot him away?
The deputy Grand Master was sitting with him, and the secretary of the lodge of the Grand Lodge was sitting with him, and he allowed me to interrupt his lunch. And we talked, and he said, what would you want me to talk about? And I said, basically what you talked about here today would be perfect for our show. And he said, okay. He said, I would definitely give that a good thought. He said, I would be interested. He said, what kind of time frame? I said, we're looking at October or November. And I said, it would be great if you could visit the studio. However, we can do it remotely, through Google Hangouts or for Skype. So, I mean, we don't...
I think for the Right Worshipful Grandmaster, we could probably drive to Philadelphia and... All right, Larry, you're done. What did I do? I went to Supreme Council of Grottos of North America in Indianapolis, Indiana. Went out with Jay Laser. And if you can't see, I'm doing the air quotes, Jay
Laser.
And it was fun. It was a long drive, like 9 hours. But, hospitality rooms were good. Pretty much all the votes that came up, we got some clarification, and things were voted yes, things were voted down, things were tabled. But, it was a good meeting. I'm glad I went. And then newly elected to the bottom of the line is a friend of ours, Bob Lorenz, who is a past master out of Pittsburgh and past monarch and past everything. And he's now going to be Grand Captain of the Guard.
Supporter of the show, too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, big fan. So, yeah, we're happy. So, yeah, we're starting to stack the deck with pro podcast people in the Grotto line. So, there we go.
It's easy to love.
And I went to Grotto last night, but that was it. So, let's take a break. We'll come back, and we'll get to communication in Freemasonry.
So I'm with Masonic Light Podcast.
Get loaded.
We're an internet radio show by Masons for you. You've heard us? All right. So tell us who you are.
I know Pete McGarry.
Oh, I'm so sorry for you.
I know. That's why.
So tell us who you are, why you're here, and what was it that you got out of your time in the East?
Well,
Who you are?
I'm Rick Bledsoe, and I was past master of Lamberton Lodge, or I still am, and I was master in 2001. And the most memorable thing for me was I gave my dad his 25-year pin when I was master.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
So any last words or parting shots for Pete Ruggieri?
Where are you, Pete?
Oh, snap!
Welcome back, everybody. And so this topic just came to us organically because all of us had some interactions the past couple of weeks where we felt like the communication could have been improved. There could have been some area of opportunity.
This is where we cue the communication
breakdown.
and
yeah.
but we're not allowed to actually do that. So
Right.
envision it now.
If it's less than 3 seconds or something like
Less
that.
than 30 seconds, we have to be talking about it as well. It has to be
All right,
like-
so communication breakdown. There we go. That's we talked about it. So,
Love that song.
an example. So earlier in the year, in the Supreme Grotto Councils of North America, we had some edicts that came out from the Right Worshipful Grand, or not the Right, just the Grand Monarch, and everybody, at least in our grotto, I don't know the feelings across the United States, but in our local grotto, people were upset about what the thing was, and and of course we stewed about it, we griped about it internally, and then when I got out there for the vote, like 8-9 months later, where we're going to actually vote on these things, and we're clarifying and it's being explained to me, apparently, like, what the intent was completely different than what we read. And there was 2 or 3 other votes that were not explained well. And I just think they unnecessarily got people in a negative mood. And I just, sometimes I just wonder, what can we do better? Because I think, at least for me, I'm not good at anything. I'm not good at building things, but I'm pretty good with communication. And so these things come easier to me and naturally to me, but I don't know how to put it down on paper to teach somebody else how to effectively communicate.
I have been to 1, 2. Well, I've been to plenty of secretary seminars in my former life as secretary, but I've been to a lot of these leadership seminars, and I wasn't at the one that Grand Lodge just did. That was the one they charged a slight fee for. That wasn't necessarily it was applicable in your any part of your life. But the one thing that's great about Freemasonry, which is also one of the things that is not great about Freemasonry, is that anybody, providing you can meet the criteria of memorization work and ritual work and the time commitment, anybody can go through the East. Everybody has equal opportunity to go through the East, and you don't have to have a resume of, this is what I've done in my professional life. And we do get some people that are in places of power that maybe have never led a team at all before. They might be great at the work, but they might be work in a factory or a warehouse or whatever. And it's been my experience that you find people that don't have that skill set. I would like to see,
and it doesn't have to be like a blue collar job. I know plenty of surgeons who are incredibly smart They just don't have to like interact with underlings. They
Yeah.
are the boss, and
Right.
And I'm not saying that not having
Yeah.
that skill set in Freemasonry is good or bad. I mean, there's certainly professions that's not necessary. So it would be nice to see in the leadership trainings that we do is some really hardcore effective communication. When I went to these leadership seminars, I was all excited because I thought we were going to do some like role playing and do some old like situational, interviewing questions.
like I'm the big bad wolf and you're Little
and
Red Riding Hood.
I've role played to death terminations, and I've role played to death, recruiting, and go to these seminars, and there's no role playing, and that's huge, in my opinion.
Yeah. Combined with the fact that you get 1 year and you're out. So by the time you figured out how to do it, you're done. So in most lodges, the worshipful master is going to sit for a year. The monarch is going to sit for a year. The high priest is going to be in for a year. So you don't even if you begin to understand how this is supposed to roll, you're done before you start. So there's actually a minor push going on to extend the worshipful master's terms to 2 years as a standard, not obligatory, but as an available option. We don't want to talk about that tonight, but you're right. Nobody teaches the rising officers how to be a rising officer. Nobody teaches that. You could maybe have a lodge or two in your district that was good at that and that could pull that off. I just don't know how you can do that across 600 lodges across the state of Pennsylvania, plus the entire northern hemisphere.
It'd be nice, like with all these different things of the Haltz Academy and the Master Mason, Master Pillar, and these things. Jack and I worked in sales, so we've all read like Stephen Covey and all these other 7 highly habits of effective people. And so that kind of stuff gets beat into you when you're an on the road salesperson, because everything you do in your life is a sales pitch.
Yeah.
And people who are not professional sales folks, I guess they don't have that mindset.
And yet, oddly enough, everybody, no matter what your job is, you're selling something to somebody, right? If you're a line worker, you're selling something to the supervisor about how to get this done better. If you're a cashier at the grocery store, you're talking about how maybe you can rearrange the whatever in order to get a better flow through, or you should be if you're thinking about your job, if you're thinking about doing things better. Even that cashier at the grocery store has to sell to that little old lady who forgot that she had, her coupons were all expired. You're always selling. People are always selling. But they don't realize it sometimes, and they're not really trained to it. And people react the way they're going to react. And, we learn that communication is not just the words you use, but the tone that you have and your body language and all of those components of communication that come together. But we don't teach our officers any of that ever in going through the chairs. It's just by osmosis. I took a job once. And it was the only job I've ever been fired from. And I said, you planted me here as a bush and told me to be a tree. How can I do that? Without you prune me right, I can't be a tree. I'm going to stay a bush. That's what I am. It's what you planted here. So it's incumbent on us at some level to train people, and I'm not sure how to do that. Honest to goodness, I mean, unless you've got a guy in the lodge who's a corporate mentor or somebody from SCORE or somebody like that can really sit down, that has the credibility.
I mean, unless you have a very well-oiled lodge with great committees and a long line to get where you're going, you could have somebody be in a perfect world. Somebody could be on a committee with experienced people at planning things before they even get in the line. But we just know in reality, you come to a few meetings and you show a little bit of interest and you're going to be a line officer.
Mm-hmm. And if the other side of that too, is that if you know that there are skill sets that are not your strongest, and we're talking about, communication, this one, but if you're not a strong communicator, then surround yourself and build yourself a team, like you're saying. It's a little bit different because we have these progressive lines, so you don't necessarily get to pick your year who your junior and senior warden are going to be, but you can certainly get a couple past masters and get a couple committees together that you can delegate. I mean, that's another maybe.
But you have to know that you need that, right?
True.
So if you don't know you need that, how do you know? You don't know what you don't know until you're already master and somebody's complaining about the job that you're doing. So it's kind of and maybe that's a good place to go back to the past masters meeting and say, we need, not only do we need to be mentoring the new candidates that are coming in, but we need to be mentoring the guys in the chairs, and we're not really doing a very good job of that right now. I think it's a great opportunity. We could be, but it's another avenue of training. And if we're making good men better, here's a great way to do it.
Now in our district, and I don't know how much follow through there has been with the change of our district level leadership. But when I became an officer, I got assigned a past master as a mentor, and I don't know if that program is still in play. But
I'd never heard of that.
Yeah, I mean,
it's great. Did he help?
It's Jeff Moyer. I mean, he's that he is my go-to. Like,
does he know he can break up with you now?
I thought he was your illegitimate father. I didn't know.
I have been told that if I need to vent or I need anything, he's the first person that I talk to.
And that's great.
Yeah.
Is he that for other people?
Well, the idea was that everybody.
Not for me.
No.
The idea was that every officer had a separate past master, but out of because not every past master wanted to participate, there are a few that have had it double up.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that Jeff officially is assigned to a couple of us. Now I don't know if that program is still hardcore.
I think that's a great program. I never heard of it at Effort Lodge, but I think it's a terrific idea.
Pete keeps looking over here like I'm going to add something to this.
Well, I just wonder if you're going to join us. I mean, you took a lot of energy and ropes and safety equipment to get you downstairs. So I just wanted you to get your money's worth.
I don't have a problem communicating, do I?
Yes.
Oh my!
No,
let's ask the Grand Master about that.
He doesn't have a problem communicating. It's the communicating effectively.
Well, if I had to give one piece of advice to the world, is when you're communicating, LCD, lowest common denominator, you train to the person who knows nothing. When you write a message, you just assume that the person that the message you're trying to convey, you need to over explain it.
Oh yeah, that's why most marketing is to the average 12-year-old.
And it needs to be that way. But we start thinking, because as master or monarch or as whatever, because Freemasonry is very important to you and you go to 5, 6, 7, 10 things a month, you're just assuming that it's the same priority for everybody else too. It's not.
Yeah.
And if you want to have an event and you want to get some people, just one post isn't going to help. You really got to over explain. And maybe somebody's been a member for 20 years. Maybe they've never been to this event. So when they just say, hey, come out to Strawberry Night, like, well, what's the Strawberry Night? So I guess there's strawberries.
So I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on what effective communication is, but effective communication is sending, receiving, and confirmation, right? Because what I'm sending to you, you might be receiving, but you may not be hearing what I'm saying.
You mean reading?
No, reading, hearing, seeing, whatever. But what part of communication is confirming that the person who's receiving understands what it was that was sent at them. And that's a big part of what's missing. That goes back to that Grotto letter early in the year. I mean, he sent that letter out, and what he intended was not what was received.
Correct.
It was perceived completely differently. And the cooler heads prevailed at the time, and they got together and said, hey, wait a minute, what's going on here? And so things were able to settle down after that. But it's that confirmation component, roger that, received, right? I've got your message. I've got it. It's that part of it that's missing from a lot of this stuff. And as far as events go, if you just put out a message that says, hey, we're doing this thing, you got nothing.
Right. So like a past Masters Night, you have a list probably on the back of your trestle board for, at least in Pennsylvania, how we do it, with all the living past masters.
Except Pete's.
You know, throw a check mark for the people that you've reached out to. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, because, you know, and maybe some of the guys don't get email. You might have to pick up a phone.
So that broaches the subject of the technology, right? We were talking about the intent of the communication and some areas that we need to communicate better. But now we get to the technology.
How about we've identified the problem. How about we take a quick break and we'll talk about some ideas of how we can better effectively communicate.
So we need to invent some solutions during the break?
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to pretend to sell something for our 8 million fans.
We need a role play.
I want to talk about prom night.
We'll be back.
Hey, Masonic Light listener, it's Jack here. You've probably heard by this time that we're building a new studio, and this is something that we feel very passionately about. We don't do this for the money because there isn't any, but when we move into this new studio, there's going to be expenses. And we just want you to know that we very much appreciate any help that you can give us toward offsetting those expenses. In fact, our program right now is that for anybody offering a donation of $13 or more, we will put your name on the wall on a yellow sticky pad that will stay there for at least 2 weeks. So jump on our GoFundMe page and drop us a couple of bucks. We appreciate it.
And we're back. And that was Larry growling. Hope you guys got that.
What the hell was that?
He's reminiscing about his prom night.
So effective communication.
Wash your hands, Larry.
So we've identified there's a problem, and you know, what are some of the steps we can do to kind of just baby steps?
We don't have a problem. We have an opportunity for improvement.
Oh, thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mr. Positive. Now we have a problem, Houston. We have one.
Problem. So there's lots of opportunities. First of all, if you're in charge of something and you're about to send something out because you're angry, put it in a drawer and come back to it in 2 days. Yeah. But if you're about to send something out, send it to somebody else first and say, "Can you look this over and make sure I'm making my point clear?"
I did that. And who I sent it to? I sent it to my mentor. Yeah. And I said, "Can you read this?" And he said, "You better not send that to anybody else."
Right.
But you know,
good.
And you live to breathe another day. So there you go. Right. So that's always good advice, is just have somebody look it over objectively. Don't be hurt if they change something, you know, but just, hey, am I making my point clearly? If you're putting out a request for assistance, you have to reach out specifically. Vague requests for overall help with some large project are zeros.
We had talked about, or actually it was the gentleman from Masonic Roundtable. They had talked about running the Masons like as a business.
They wrote a book about it.
Okay, right. But I think we could even like hammer that down a little further, like running it like you're a commissioned salesperson, you know? So like if your goal is to get a different behavior, good, bad, indifferent, better participation. We want a lot of people to come out to this dinner. You just kind of got to think about like, that's our objective. What do we need to do to get 50 butts in seats tonight? Or, you know, not tonight, but in 2 months. Yeah. And that's,
that's really genius. I hate to admit it, but that's a really good idea.
Thanks.
Okay, come on now.
So we're going to start writing right now, and we're going to sell for $4.99 on Amazon.
Yeah.
What you do when you lay out your plan, Pete, you enumerated what the goal is going to be. What you have to do then is go back and develop action steps to take you to meet that goal, and there could be 30 or 40 action steps that you would need to get to that goal, but they would have to be assigned to various individuals because one person is going to do all 40 or 50 of them. And
Which is usually how it works out.
That person at the top whose goal is to get 50 people in those seats, follows up with those people who are assigned that action step.
But we just can't omit some of the obvious things. Like, if we want to have a dinner and we need at least 30 people there, so how are we going to achieve that? And if you go through those action steps and it can't be achieved, then let's not have that activity.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, we're veering off a little bit from the subject of communication, and that's program planning, and that's still a good thing. But the idea of communicating, of clearly defining the goal, and then communicating to the right people what the goal is. Correct. And how to organize it. So that's a good thing. But what we're focusing on here is the communication side of it, right? And we talked a little bit about the need for communication in the last segment, but what we can talk about now is the methodology of communicating. Because one of the things we're faced with is probably a full third of the membership of my lodge doesn't own a computer, or if they did, wouldn't know how to turn it on, because it's a 386 IBM compatible computer. So you can't reach those guys by email. They're not on Facebook. You're not gonna tweet them. They're just not. So do you reach those guys? I hate the concept of writing them off, but you're not going to reach them by electronic means. So we have to, it's phone or it's mail, right?
So I think there's like several different areas that we could identify that we poorly communicate in, right? And like you're talking about just disseminating information, right? So maybe we can address a couple different of those areas and pick back up on disseminating the information. We also have a bad habit of not being able to have the tough conversations fast enough, right? Like that's just a killer in business. It's a killer in Freemasonry. If you avoid the tough conversation too late in the game, what kind of cancer has spread through your organization. And we also, sometimes we don't praise enough, right? Like praise in public and criticize in private. Mm-hmm. But I think we should touch on all those. But let's go back to disseminating the information.
Well, that's just one. So you've got manual methods of mail, phone, physically going to see somebody to talk to them about whatever the message is. You've got electronic communication, that's email, Facebook, tweets, websites.
But those are tools.
That's what
I think what we need to focus on is the content of the message.
Well,
how do we communicate a viable message that people,
the content,
the majority of them, the content will understand?
Well, here's pure basic marketing. We come up with a cohesive message. We can all agree this is the message. But if there's...
And let's just take, for example, a program at a stated meeting night.
Okay. Well, let's compare it to like a Geico...
Cave degree.
A Geico commercial or something like that. They have one thing for the radio. They have one thing for television. They have something coming across YouTube. They may have mailers. They have things that are stuffed in your mailbox. They are bombarding you with every different kind of media. Now, of course, in Freemasonry, we don't have the money. We can't do TV in this, but you can do internet. You can do email. You can do a physical mail. You can do a phone call, Facebook message, whatever. You can hit text messaging. Call them all, whatever. And you need to do multiple. Mm-hmm. If you don't do multiple, you're alienating a segment.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, I'm done.
I had a really interesting conversation with an old timer up in Harrisburg today. And he was coming up to Zembo to pick something up and walked into our building by accident, which happens all the time. For those of you that aren't in Pennsylvania, Zembo's our shrine building, and we're neighbors. So he was telling me about, he was a member of Millersville for over 50 years, guy's in his 80s, and he was telling me about an old past master, and he said that past master was an ex-state cop, and the guys that he knew that weren't going to come to a meeting just because they got the notice in the mail, he would call them up and he would say, "Will I see you at the stated meeting?" Or he would say something like, "I expect to see you on Wednesday night," or whatever night their meeting is. And I feel like you get your paper notice, you get your email notice, you get your whatever, you get your call 'em all, but they're passive advertising, right? It's the same thing on Facebook. Like, yes, I'm going, no, I'm going, maybe. It's really easy to say, yeah, I'm going to go and then not show up. But when you have somebody who's, asking you to commit face to face, it's a lot harder to say no. You know, and I feel like maybe we need to bring some of that back. And I know that, you know, that would be difficult to pin on a master to call everybody in the lodge. Like, that's just not possible when you have 300-400 people in some of these lodges. But you certainly have, again, you know, go back to delegators. If you say, hey, brother so-and-so, could I count on you to call, you know, 20 of the over 70 guys that are not active on email and see if they'll come out? I'll tell you what, I'll buy your dinner that night if you do that for me.
Sure.
I mean, I made this snarky observation years ago of, well, don't make eye contact. But on a more serious note, every office I've ever held in a Masonic body is because someone asked me. I was not active in Scottish Rite for years. Jeff Moyer asked me if I would be interested in doing something with the Rose Croix line. I didn't have anything else going on, and it's intriguing, so yes. You know, so I said, you know, unless I have a reason to say no, I'm not just going to flat out say no. And I think a lot of people are like that. And I just think there's a lot of people that if you ask them, even if to come out to dinner, you're going to get a better chance of them coming if you physically ask them.
And language is just a little tweak of language makes such a difference. All right, like if I said, hey, Jack, do you think you can come to a Lodge 43 stated meeting? And if I say, hey, Larry, would you come to my meeting with me? I mean, that's different. That's
hey, Jason, I'd really like it if you could come to the meeting on Thursday.
Which meeting do we have on Thursday?
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Right, and it's going to be a lot harder for me to say no, or to blow off.
I couldn't say no to you when you invited me to 43.
Well, I was paid for it, but
So in the opposite vein, my wife says to me, "Do you want to take the trash out?" Well, no. I really don't. So be careful how you ask what you ask, because you might not get the answer that you think you want.
But I mean, you know, this can go back to like confidence and just succinct communication. Sometimes you just need to say something. You can't mince words sometimes. Jack, I'm going to need you. Could you I need you to take the trash out when you leave.
I'm sorry, I can't do that.
Okay. But I'm going to need you to turn the lights off when you come back. When you come back down, turn the lights back off or whatever. Yeah. Not like, hey, remember, I hope you turn the lights back off.
Oh,
no,
gosh.
I'm going to need that.
I hope somebody turns the lights off when I leave. Yeah, they're not getting turned off.
Those 6-watt LEDs are just putting us in the poorhouse.
We'll put up a sign.
Okay.
I used to have an uncle that when it was time for the visit to be over, he would get up, loosen his belt, and he'd say, turn the lights out when you leave. And then he'd disappear. That was good communication.
So we're going to ask you guys. So if you're listening to this, drop us a comment on SoundCloud. Drop us a comment on Facebook. Is there anything you do effectively in your lodge? We don't throw anybody under the bus if they're bad at it. Make it vague. But tell us something that maybe was, you know, that could have been done better. And, you know, let's try to help some people.
Let's do it.
let's talk about blind carbon copy. I'm kidding.
Oh, no, let's have that for just a moment.
Well, okay, I'm wondering, I was going to say, if somebody knows how to use a podcast, they may already understand blind carbon.
No, I disagree. Please, if you have a list of more than 2 people that you're sending this email to, put them all under BCC.
And what happens? Everybody gets the message, but you don't see everybody else's email address. And if you accidentally or on purpose hit reply all, it doesn't go to everybody.
That's the one, right? Yeah.
But if you see
That somebody screwed the first part up, you don't have to hit reply all.
Right.
So when the master sends a message out to 400 people, people start hitting reply all. Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. Yay. No, everybody doesn't need to hear that.
You know, the flip side challenge of that is, you know, occasionally I'll send out an email and I'll copy the master or whoever the message is also pertinent to, and they just hit reply and not reply all. right? So I am like continually trying to
Loop other people into the conversation.
well, that and like not make my emails super wordy because I have a habit of being wordy, so I'll try to trim my email down, but also make it blatantly obvious that there's somebody else in this conversation, like Brother Joe, full master, comma, please reply all, gentlemen, or, because that is equally as frustrating because it makes more work.
Well, I get the opposite because when I worked for the phone company, they actually sent us to a continuing education seminar and said, like, normally in writing, you come up with an idea and then you flesh it out. And like the very end of this email, you're going to say, so Jack, I'm going to need you to come on Thursday. Well, even if he got the email, he did not read the 500 words of text. So they said, ask things right away. Jack, I'm going to need you to come out on Thursday. Then you can go and explain in 500 words. They even got to the point where they said, if it's something work-related and it's important, and you can be succinct enough just to put it in the subject line, you don't even need a message.
See me Thursday at 12. Bam.
Right. And it shows up on when you get your message on your phone, you don't have to open it. They see it.
Right.
So I want to go around the if you'll humor me, go around the table. And I'm curious what the most effective form of communication to disseminate information is for each of you guys. Like, what will you respond to and take action on the easiest? What's the best way for you to be contacted?
Text message. I don't like I don't like talking on the telephone. And if it's something I have to reply to via email and it's wordy, because I'm not working at a desk all day, I'm not at a keyboard.
So do you think?
And I don't want to type a long response on my phone.
So if your lodge wanted to send you a message, a bulk message, because the column alls also have the ability to do a text message. Would bulk text message be more effective to engage you?
For me, yes. Not everybody, but for me, it would be good.
Larry?
Yeah. Bulk text. I get a lot of bulk text messages from doctors and different organizations that I belong to, and they're effective for me.
Confirm your appointment. Y or N.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you going to be at dinner? Y or N. It's not rocket surgery.
That's right. That's true.
Jack?
Email.
Jason, will you?
I am a squeaky wheel gets the oil kind of guy.
Telephone?
Email, Facebook, but I'm a multiple. I need to hear it over and over and over.
What I don't like is messages like, but you guys don't have access to it, but we have a private host group for this podcast. And
You mean you guys, the listeners?
yeah, you guys, listeners. We here in the studio are all part of this. We're the only ones that are part of this private group. It kills me because I gotta scroll 2 pages over, hit Facebook, open Facebook, search for Masonic Light Podcast private host group, and then get.
As an
into that
example, Jack was going to have our guest Tyler, and then he posted in the group just as a message, "Hey, I hurt my back. I'm not going to be there at 5:30 to pick up Tyler. Can somebody pick up Tyler?" I checked my phone message at like 6:30. I'm like,
7:30, right?
Oh boy, I really hope somebody got Tyler.
Right. Right, because that's how you guys communicate. You guys communicate through Facebook,
Right.
That just
Through that.
But you got to tag.
Facebook Messenger is what I use a lot.
Yeah, Facebook Messenger. I mean,
Yeah.
I could
To me, that's
survive
as
on
good
that
as a
alone.
text. And
right.
that is a text.
Well, and you can call. You butt dial me all the time on
Yeah.
that. Half the time I wonder if you got pants on. I'm scared. Yeah, Facebook, as far as the bulk communication, Facebook and tags,
But the point being, there's lots of different ways to communicate with your members, to communicate with your officers, to communicate with the other, worshipful masters in your district, whatever. There's lots of ways to do it, but you have to do it, and you have to do it more than one way.
concise and often.
Yeah, and I know, for instance, I mean, you've given me some good ammunition. We have this cave degree coming up in September, and I don't think we're doing a quality job advertising it. And it's because we put it out there and we expected people to respond. And in their not responding, we're just sort of, gosh, people aren't responding.
Yeah, I am so not even thinking about September? See,
Right.
I know it's coming up, but I don't even know the month or the date.
But marketing is repetition, right? So
There's
we have to
also
compete,
there's
we
just
have to
there like for
continue to
that
put it out. Yeah,
there's a lot of us that our schedules are busy, and there's just people fall into the trap of, well, I'll wait until that day
and see if anything cooler,
see if anything
up.
better comes up, and yeah, it's like.
But when you're organizing a caterer
With
and
a meal,
tent
you
and
can't.
you can't wait. You got to say, all right, cutoff date is Sunday. We got to know. Blah,
But
blah.
that's something you need to communicate with the members often and early.
Right.
That, hey, we're going to, as a member of this organization, I apologize in advance if I'm going to annoy you, but there's these things that we're going to need an answer to, and we may keep poking at you till you tell us. Mm-hmm. If you can't go, that's fine, but please tell us, respond back with a no. Mm-hmm. So we can just cross you off.
And we may keep poking at you after you've responded because we don't know how to call the list. So that's another problem.
I think the key is, repetition, concise repetition, and all channels. But it's very, very easy to say no to a piece of paper, or ignore an email.
And be concise and direct enough. And I understand people can get butthurt by being told something too bluntly. I'm good with blunt, but other people aren't. But we got to trim some of these messages down, Larry. If you want the guy to be on the show, you say, "Hey, right, we'd like to be on our show." Don't drone on for 20 minutes.
We're back. Well, Pete left halfway through the show. He's still talking to another Doberman owner at their wit's end. So
I heard them talking about texture and picking up with paper towels.
I think they were talking about intestinal problems.
Yeah. It's just we probably wanted to spare our listeners
In
that
horse
whole-
language, they call it colic.
Right. So this is what we do. Right. This is our thing, our Masonic Light podcast. But we do want to say special thanks. And I was not here, and the guys did a great job with Tyler Moyer. Sorry, Moiler like Euler. I guess that was from David Illingworth in his Oiland trip. But yes, a special kudos to Tyler and really all the people involved in DeMolay. I know some of our friends just recently received some pretty high honors from DeMolay at their international conference. A special shout out to you. You know who you are. You're a listener, but you're incognito. So, but especially Tyler, good luck on the election. We're pulling for you. We're just tell us who to send money to, and we got this for you.
So,
what?
I know you listened to the show, Jack. You weren't here, but there was a part that we were talking about DeMolay and his chumps.
Yeah, I heard the chumps thing. I also heard it was corrected.
Yeah. I was a good boy, and I vetted that episode past somebody. I let somebody listen to it before we released it. So it's chums.
It is chums. It is chums.
And also, DeMolay International. We asked the question: have they ever gone international? One DeMolay International meeting was held in Canada back in the 50s or 60s.
Oh,
yeah. So a little trivia. I have the exact date somewhere in my phone, but
it is. Yeah, that is trivial.
So we had a good episode. Communication.
Very good.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think we learned a lot about DeMolay, and I think from a few of the listeners that I have talked to, they really liked the show with him on.
I meant this
he was a
episode,
great
but-
guest.
I know you did, but that was a communication thing. And
I was. What another good communication skill is?
what's that?
Using somebody's name. People tune in when you use their name a lot.
Really,
Jack.
Jerry? Is that right?
Yes, Jack.
What about that, Fred?
Yeah. So Larry,
Yo,
Charles,
Bob?
let's go home. What do you have going on in the next couple of weeks?
actually, very, very little. Really, we're I'm not going to use the right terminology. Our lodges
Called
are
off from
called off
labor.
Labor, July and August, and I'm going to take full advantage of it.
Yes.
The past few weeks have been hellaciously busy with Freemasonry, so really nothing.
It has been busy.
Jack?
I'm just dialing up for we have two things. Well, you and I are chartering. You and I.
Oh, you and I are right.
Chartering an AMD council, and that's going to be happening in August. So that's exciting. The day after that ceremony for the new council, we're holding an AMD in-gathering at Ephrata Lodge. And tickets are limited, and I think there's only like a couple tickets left for that. They're on Eventbrite if you want to see it. It's AMD in Gathering, Pennsylvania, 2018. Just punch in those search stuff. But that will be the big things for me this summer, is getting past that. And then once we hit fall, it's downhill on the toboggan to the end of the year.
And you should probably talk about Cave Degree, things going on in the district.
Cave Degree, yes. Another one that's on Eventbrite. We're actually becoming very fluent in Eventbrite speak, because it's a really easy way to track your events. If you have ticket sales, you can use it to collect the money if it makes sense to collect the money up front, or you can do it as a free event and just collect the money at the door. But eventbrite.com, search for 2018 Cave Degree, and you should, there can't be more than two. So look for the one for Ephrata Lodge, and it's at Indian Echo Caverns, which is in Dauphin County, I believe.
Sure.
And it is a very cool evening. It'll be an Entered Apprentice Mason's degree. It's a rain or shine event, and there is a nice barbecue dinner to go with it. And it's a very cool tour if anybody wants to tour the caverns and stuff while they're there. So that's coming up also in September.
Nice. It will already have happened, but the last extra meeting before summer break this upcoming week. But we should probably talk about just a few of the things happening in the district, which there's not many over the summer, but the big one is the July 21st skydiving event. So take a look at First Masonic District online, firstmasonicdistrict.org. I'm sorry, firstmasonic.org, or our Facebook page, and you can see the details if you want to come jump.
Honestly thought Masons could fly.
Les Nessman will be in.
Pete's back. So we have July 21st skydiving event up in Lebanon, PA. So if you want to make the trip in, firstmasonic.org or our Facebook page, you can find that and sign up. It's a Masonic event, but certainly friends, family can jump and or participate. So we're working on food and activities on the ground for those of us that go over the weight limit. And yeah,
we'll be the net.
So I think that
We'll hold the blanket.
We'll be the landing pad.
I think that's about it, because we are heading into the summer. Studio 665, if you find it in your hearts to throw us $13 or more, we're happy to name a sticky note or a microphone cable after you or more. You can go to MasonicLite.com. That's Masonic LITE. Please drop us a line on the Facebook page or our Google number, which you can find on our website as well. And I think that's really all I got going on. I unfortunately will not be at the chartering of the AMD Council, co-chartering. I will be up in Lexington, Massachusetts for a secretary/treasurer seminar. My boss is unable to go for a prior commitment, so I will be there in his stead. But that's pretty much my Masonic life here. In the next, I'll be at the beach this weekend. I'll be at the beach. I would have been at the beach by the time you see it. I actually won't be at the beach. I'll be at the beach house in the air conditioning, and everybody else will be at the beach. Yeah. Pete,
We up to me.
yeah.
So Masonically, I have something really cool coming up this Friday at 12 noon.
What? I knew.
I am going to be on Amtrak on the Keystone, traveling up to New York City.
Oh, cool.
Going to Azim Grotto, and we're going to have a whole bunch of us wearing Hawaiian shirts, bolo ties, and I'm going to wear a smoking jacket that clashes with my Hawaiian shirt.
And you're the district deputy, right?
Not theirs.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm district deputy for Delco Grotto.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Where I was last week.
I should be paying attention.
Yeah, that's okay. But it's just going to be fun. The guys from Azim, we kind of started with Ubar Grotto right when there was a group of guys bringing Azim Grotto back from the dead. There was like one guy that was holding on to the charter and still paying dues. And then they had 13 or 14 men join and take on all the officer roles. And now they're like almost 200 guys.
Yeah, they're booming.
Yeah. So, but they're a bunch of idiots like us, and it's going to be a fun, all of us country mice running around the city. It'll be fun.
Is Prophet Doherty, Joey Doherty?
I don't know, but maybe
down.
I can message him to see if he wants to come down from Boston.
Yeah, there you go.
Meet me halfway.
So if he hears this episode and I didn't ask him, he'll be mad. So I'll have to text him.
Yeah, maybe he'll come hang out with me in August when I'm up there in Boston. In any event, this is Jason Lewis.
Jack Harley.
Oh shoot!
Oh wait, we forgot about the chickens.
Wait, come on.
Oh
my
I'm sorry.
God.
You know,
Oh my God.
it's been an off. Pete disappeared. I was hanging out with my buddy here.
Your buddy Fireball?
Man,
Well, crank up the music.
it's a long drive back there.
Cue the chickens.
Anyway, also want to give special thanks to Brother Brian Hill and Brother Jeff Moyer. We had a great trip up to Allentown for the Kite and Key
Traditional
Observance Lodge.
And for the donation. Thank you.
Yeah, and for the did we give that information out?
I didn't say which one.
And Brian Hill, thank you very much for the donation. And it was a nice one. And
Seeing as how he was a correctional officer, every edit that I make, every correction will be in his honor.
Yes, there you go.
Oh,
There
he is
you
the
go.
correction officer.
Actually,
Absolutely.
I think tomorrow he's on his way to Scotland and England
He was
for
actually
2
the
weeks.
warden, not. And so he.
Yeah, but he started at one point, right? As a
No, it was an
correctional
elected position, I think.
officer?
Yeah.
But he will be the warden
I like this
of
sentiment.
corrections.
And also thanks to the brothers
Senior warden.
of Kite and Key. Several of them came up and talked to me at the
Traditional Observance Lodge.
at the Lodge of Research.
Oh,
meeting
there you go.
in Harrisburg. So that was kind of nice for them to remember.
They can help you with your diction.
Yeah, maybe they can. You're right. Okay, I also want to give special recognition to our new staff cook, Patty Love Brandy. Our special thanks also to our electrical engineer.
What is that?
I don't even know how he thought that would be tied into fun.
Our electrical engineer, Shocky Leitner. Also, thanks to our sound mixer, Ken Not Hearin'. And finally, to the law firm of Wright, and Loser. Thanks for listening. This is Larry
That's probably
Mears.
the worst one ever.
That's it.
Worst one ever? Come on.
Is there a do-over in there somewhere?
No.
Mulligan. This is still Jason Lewis.
And also Jack Harley.
And Delaware Valley Doberman Pinscher Assistants, Pete.
Good night. And thanks for listening.
Good night, and have an excellent tomorrow.
Good. I like that, Jack.
Jesus, that's a...
That sucked.
tagline.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So motivated.